Welcome back to another episode of Rock Boys Football. Mario Cristobal, the Miami Hurricanes, wrapping up fall camp, and I feel like we've learned a lot about this football team over the last couple of weeks. Now, we go and get nitty gritty with it, and we go and talk about some players and some under the radar storylines that I think are very, very important to Miami going into 2025. But I want to start a little bit more broad. Number one, I got two big overarching takeaways for this Miami Hurricanes team going into 2025. Number one, I feel like Miami is very, very happy with the transfer portal additions that they've made this offseason. Now, it's one thing to like your transfer portal class on paper. It's a whole nother thing to make sure you're hitting on the new players that are coming into your program. Just go ask Florida State last year. Florida State thought they signed a great transfer portal class. Turned out it wasn't all that good. The vibe that I'm getting from Miami, really going back to spring practice, but also going into fall camp, is the new faces, the transfer portal additions that we brought into this program. We are very happy with what we're getting, which is massive. Because you look at the biggest flaw for Miami in 2024 was we weren't a very complete team. We had a lot of really special aspects about our football team, but we had some fatal flaws that kind of prevented us from doing what we wanted to do in 2024. If Miami wanted to take a step in 2025, they they needed to hit on the new faces that they brought in through the portal, specifically in the secondary. The overwhelming buzz from spring practice into fall camp is the new faces that we brought in at the positions we needed to get right. We feel like we got those right. That's number one. This is a more complete football team than what we saw 12 months ago, because we knew damn well 12 months ago that we had problems in the secondary. Like, I'll look at this depth chart, this roster, and say, find me the fatal flaw. Like, that's not to say we don't have question marks about certain parts of this roster, whether it's wide receiver, whether it's depth on the defensive line. But from a fatal flaw standpoint, I don't really see that problem on Miami's roster. That's a lot more than a lot of these other programs can say going into 2025. Number two, this is important to me. The identity of this football team better fits what Mario Cristobal wants this football team to look like. Last year, it was the identity was, we gonna score more points than you because we have the best offense in the country, which was true. But you could tell very clearly that Mario Cristobal was not all that comfortable managing a football game in shootout fashion. I'm looking at this team going into 2025 and say the identity of this football team is running the football, playing good defense, controlling the lines of scrimmage, which is exactly how Mario Cristobal wants his roster, wants his football team to look. I'm sitting right here. I guess I'll call my shot right quick. Is there going to be a team in the country that has more NFL draft picks along both sides of the line of scrimmage than Miami's going to have? I don't know. I think you could argue this football team has some of the best line of scrimmage play that we see in the country. That better fits what Mario Cristobal wants this program to look like. Like, go look at the high school trail. Go look at all the resources that Mario Cristobal and this program have poured into this roster. Most of those resources have gone to building the lines of scrimmage. You think that's going to pay off in 2025? I think it certainly is. I think that matters. It's one thing to have a lot of talent. It's another thing to have the talent fit the identity of your program. Feel like we're better aligned going into 2025. Those are the two broad takeaways. We go and get nitty gritty with it. Before we do, and as always, the Miami Hurricane fans, appreciate you guys. What I do want to say, and I was thinking about this as I was, prepping this episode, this is a really cool season for me. I think we have broken down the commitments of almost every single player on this roster going into the 2025 year. And many of y'all been rocking with the boys throughout the entire process. Cannot thank you guys enough. If y'all do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel. Without further ado, let's get into it. Now, real quick, we have to talk about it. You talk about fall camp winners, Carson Beck. As much as I was really confident that Carson Beck was going to work at Miami, like, there were still some underlying question marks. He's a new quarterback that didn't work with this team in spring practice because of the injury. Like, how quickly is he going to grasp this offense? Is the elbows that throw? What's the throwing look like? Everything we've heard from Carson Beck, between the ears, getting the offensive line right in protection, understanding the playbook, pass with flying colors. What about physically? Making high level throws in fall camp. We are leaving fall camp with all of the boxes and all of the questions answered about Carson Beck and what he can be to Miami. I mean, the thing that fires me up the most is, man, he fits like a glove. Like giving him a good run game, letting him work off of play action. There's a very real shot that you get the Carson Beck that we saw in 2023. And if you get that, you're getting one of, if not the best quarterbacks in the country in the 2025 season. I would peg Carson Beck as comfortably a top 10 quarterback. There's a chance he's top five, top three. Really, really high on Carson Beck. We've learned that throughout fall camp. Number two, this running back room. Now, I chose to highlight Jordan Lyle. Many of y'all know that. That's my guy. I think Jordan Lyle is the most gifted and talented running back in this room. And I think it's important to mention that Jordan Lyle last year was freaking awesome as a freshman in the limited opportunities that he had as a guy that wasn't in for spring practice, wasn't in for winter workouts as a freshman. That full offseason for Jordan Lyle, you can just tell by looking at this kid. Looks a little bit more like a power four running back physically. I think Jordan Lyle has a monster year. I will say this. I'm sleeping on Mark Fletcher. This is the reason why. Go back 12 months ago and how we talked about Mark Fletcher. We weren't even sure if Mark Fletcher was going to play week one against Florida 12 months ago. Mark Fletcher was banged up pretty much the entire offseason last year. Mark Fletcher been healthy the last 8 months, all off season long. So maybe Mark Fletcher didn't take the step many of us expected in year two. We could see that step take place in year three because he's been healthy all off season long. Then Shamar Brown. Like we weren't really sure if Marty Brown was going to be a depth running back or rotational running back. He's going to be in this rotation. And I look at why that's so important. Miami wants to run the football a lot in 2025. At least that's the way I look at it. You got three running backs that we freaking love going into 2025. Again, going back to the idea that this roster from a talent standpoint fits what this team wants to be from an identity standpoint. We want to run the football with a dominant offensive line. Well, you better have a deep running back room. Miami has that. I'll give you another one that I think is intriguing. Alex Bowman. We're going to talk a little bit more scheme than I would like to over the next 30 seconds, so bear with me. Alex Bowman, one, sounds like I kind of figured when Miami went out and got Alex Bowman, it was, all right, nice tight end two, not sure how much he's going to get on the football field. Well, it sounds like Miami really does like him. That doesn't mean he's going to be playing more than Elijah Lofton because that ain't true. Elijah Lofton, to me, I think special. It does, give Miami the ability to run a little bit more 12 personnel, which is, I kind of think, like the wheelhouse of this offense, where you look at this offensive line, dominant. You look at both Elijah Lofton and Alex Bowman and say dominant run blockers at the tight end position. You're going to force teams to play with three linebackers. I don't think there are many teams in the country that will be comfortable playing with a nickel defender when Miami has two tight ends on the field. That is going to give Miami some really unique matchups at the tight end position, specifically with a guy like Elijah Lofton. If you have to play with three linebackers, chances are you're going to have some linebackers that are trying to deal with Elijah Lofton. That's monster matchup for Miami. And you got two tight ends that can run block too, which I think is really important as well. I think the tight ends are going to be very, very important to Miami in 2025. I mean, freshman wide receivers, got to talk about that. Malachi Tony and Joshua Moore. We knew Miami needed some new faces, whether they were portal guys, whether they were freshmen. We knew they needed to step up. What excites me the most are these freshmen, specifically Malachi Tony and Joshua Moore. They're going to play for Miami, and they're going to play really important roles. The thing that stands out with Malachi Tony is it's been so consistent from this kid, really going back to winter workouts and spring practice. Is there a chance that he leads Miami in receiving yards? Yeah, I think so. That's a really important position for Shannon Dawson's offense, and it sounds like Malachi Tony's doing a really, really good job there. How about the offensive line? Two storylines I want to talk about. Matt McCoy has seemingly elevated his game towards like that. He's going to be an NFL draft pick. And so now I'm looking at it and saying, all right, Francis Maui Noah, we kind of know is going to be a top 10 NFL draft pick. We know Ines Cooper going to the NFL draft as well. Markel Bell, probably should have included him in this list. He's probably going to be an NFL draft pick. The only question mark you had was, left guard, because James Brockermeyer, whether he's an NFL draft pick, whether he's a UDFA guy, he going to be playing on Sundays. Matt McCoy, he emphatically has won the left guard spot, and the buzz around Matt McCoy is really, really exciting. All five of these guys could be playing in the NFL in the next 12 months. And then the other name is, how about Samson Okunlola, where, look, has it been a little bit frustrating that we haven't gotten to see this kid over the last first 2 years? Sure. It sounds like he's ready to be that sixth man, which to me is important. When you're a team that wants to win a national championship, you have to have more than just five offensive linemen you trust. And it sounds like Samson Okunlola is the guy that can do it all for you. If you have to play him for Markel Bell for a game, I think you trust that. If you have to play him at guard, I think you can trust that. Having your sixth offensive lineman, your sixth best offensive lineman, be a guy that can play guard and tackle, massive asset for Miami in 2025. We just weren't sure if Samson Okunlola was going to be ready. I think he's going to be ready going into it's easy to assume this kid can't play because we haven't really seen him. He's been behind a lot of really good offensive linemen. I think he's ready to kind of play that role in 2025. Going to the defensive side of the football, I feel like I have to own this one. I've spent so much time talking about my question marks about the depth in the middle of the defensive line, which I do think is a question mark. To me, probably the biggest question mark we have about this football team. I feel like I've just kind of ignored the buzz we've gotten from Justin Scott. Like, what happens if he becomes the game record that we knew this kid could be coming out of high school as a five-star prospect? The feedback has been really, really good for Justin Scott. If you get that version of Justin Scott, and you have a guy like Ruben Bain coming off the edge, you have a guy like Akeem Mesidor coming off the edge, that's going to be a problem for a lot of offensive lines that are on this Miami Hurricane schedule. The fact that Justin Scott sounds like he can be a all-conference caliber dude is a storyline that I haven't talked enough about. Then the last two names I'll throw out there, Mo Torre at linebacker. This kind of gets into the conversation of Miami's getting what they wanted out of these portal guys. Mo Torre was a little bit of a risk, right? Coming off the season-ending injury, you get him on campus post-spring, what's he going to look like? We don't really know. Everything we've heard from him in fall campus, he's going to be a starting off-ball linebacker and a force against the run for Miami, which is going to be really dang important for that week one matchup against Notre Dame. If you get the version of Mo Torre that we saw in 2023 at Rutgers when Corey Heatherman was coaching him at linebacker, massive upgrade to this football team in 2025. And then Jacoby Thomas, look, I ain't going to get up here and say Jacoby Thomas is going to be an all-conference safety. I don't know if he is. It sounds like we got what we needed from him. Well, I mean, not every transfer portal addition needs to be a first-team all-conference guy. Like, sometimes you just got to fill in a gap. Miami needed to do that post-spring. They wanted A.J. Halsey, kind of had to pivot to Jacoby Thomas, and it sounds like they're getting what they wanted from Jacoby Thomas, which is important. Look, is he going to be an All-American? No, probably not. Is he going to be a reliable safety in a way that Miami did not have last year? Sounds like it. That's big. Not every transfer portal addition needs to be an all-conference guy. Miami, we knew this team was going to be good. I think if they were going to be great, they needed to hit on a lot of these names that are highlighted in red. I think they did. I think that's my biggest takeaway coming out of fall camp. We'll close it out there. Appreciate you guys rocking with it. If y'all do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel, and we'll talk to y'all later. Peace.